Guys, I forgot one of the names that needed to be included here. I forgot one of the names that needed to be included in our Boss Rush stream title. Cenk Uygur. That's right, folks. We gotta cover him because he put out a video. When did this come out? This came out a few days ago on UnHerd, on a show called Undercurrents, which has 43,000 subscribers. So I'm not surprised we haven't caught it yet. Dude put out a video saying that titled Cenk Uygur, I was wrong about Trump. You know what? Fuck it. We're in boss rush mode. Let's go. Let's boogie. Absolute cretinous behavior.
Welcome to Undercurrents, our daily news show.
Oh, good. It's the lady from the Rising, from Rising, the conservative shitheel. Cool.
From UnHerd's Washington Bureau. Today's guest is Cenk Uygur. Subscribe here wherever you get your podcasts.
Also, I'm pretty sure UnHerd is a like transphobic site, if I'm not mistaken. Content. Let's see. Oh, of course. Founded in 2017 by the billionaire hedge fund manager Sir Paul Marshall. Awesome. Wow, I absolutely adore when people capitulate to billionaires. I literally was raging about this on Blue Sky earlier today, about how we need to stop giving these people our attention uncritically. You know, so many people just open up and read the Washington Post and assume good faith from it. You know, so many people open up the New York Times and assume good faith from it. So many people open up the LA Times and assume good faith. They're all owned by, you know, 100-millionaire families or straight up billionaire investors. Cool stuff. Real quick here. Just going through. Yeah, Samuel Earle, writing in The Guardian, described UnHerd in 2023 as drifting away from explicit concern for the Conservative Party and the future of capitalism and towards a focus on culture war topics. Lockdowns, wokeness, cancel culture, and the trans rights movement. Hence why I now I know of it because of its transphobia. As well as more general journalistic fare. So basically it became less shilling for capitalist and more jangling keys to distract people from capitalism. Incredible stuff. Another criticism of it claims the website is keen to knock the left and promote a variety of right-wing bugbears. Yeah. Yep. All right. Cool stuff. Let's see. What do you got, Cenk? You were wrong about Trump? Let's go.
And over at undercurrents.tv for the full premium experience of the show.
Also, no spoilers, but this will tie nicely into the next segment that we're doing. So this actually isn't that far out of our way. We're more just veering on a slight detour before we get to the first piece of content I actually planned. Let's dive in.
Now, yesterday morning, Politico Playbook, the hugely influential newsletter here in Washington, D.C., was delivered to inboxes on Capitol Hill and K Street and even down at Mar-a-Lago with a very interesting headline. It read, "The Dems cozying up to Elon Musk." So who are those Dems? To name a few, Elizabeth Warren, Josh Shapiro, and our previous guest on this show, Ro Khanna, Playbook reported. But beneath that headline, Playbook made it clear that not all Democrats were hopping on the Elon bandwagon, noting how Representative Maxwell Frost discussed Musk on MSNBC just a couple of days ago.
So you expect me to believe that someone like Elon Musk, who's worth over $340 billion, is going to be in charge of helping to decide what my mom's Social Security check is going to be? Mm-hmm. And so I think we really need to take this on the road to show people, and it's going to help us, of course, take the House back.
Outside the Beltway, though, this internecine battle is raging as well. Cenk Uygur, the popular host and founder of the Young Turks, has been making headlines left and right, literally and figuratively. He actually reached out to Elon Musk and said, quote, "Put me in charge of the Pentagon. I'll slash $400 billion easy. That'll get you 20% to your goal of $2 trillion right out of the gate. I went to Wharton 3 years before you. I own a media company, so I know how to run a business. If you really want to cut, put me in, coach." After Musk...
Now, the most charitable way you can interpret this is Cenk banking on the fact that Elon Musk is a moron in order to try and, like, do some, like, I don't know, trickery to basically, convince him into doing a good thing, by accident. And that's the most charitable you can possibly be here, because I don't think that's what this is. I really don't. But we'll see. You know, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. We'll see. But I'm probably not.
Musk replied, quote, "Suggestions welcome." Cenk posted that generals should not be allowed to leave government and work for defense contractors for a period of 10 years. Donald Trump Jr. jumped in and said, "This is a great idea that has been discussed." Now that, of course, upset the bulwark, unsurprisingly, but Cenk has continued undeterred over the last several weeks, making news constantly for talking to conservatives and MAGA diehards, and even
the issue isn't, by the way, just to clear this up in case you are a conservative and you are watching this, the issue isn't that he's reaching out to work with everyday conservatives. The issue is here, he believes that there is some vein of right-wing populism that exists within the Republican Party, and that just doesn't exist. They are liars, and they are charlatans, and they are thieves, and they tell people what they want to hear. So working class Republicans hear the messaging, but there's absolutely zero intent to actually deliver, and at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter if they actually deliver on these working class issues, because they're never held to account, because they are shielded from repercussion by the cult leader of Trump, you know, the cult figure. So, like, the right-wing populism, it's a mirage. It's a mirage leading people astray into the depths of the desert where they will die, along with anyone they bring with them. And I don't know. I think maybe that's bad. Maybe that's a bad thing that is deserving of criticism.
Reaching out to Trump's incoming border czar, Tom Homan. Take this Mediaite headline as one example of how Cenk has been influencing the discourse. It said, "Cenk Uygur optimistic after Trump's victory. Quote, MAGA is not my mortal enemy. The establishment is." Now, on Wednesday...
They already ran the government. They are the establishment Republicans. Like, I'm sorry. Oh man, Donald Trump, he's not establishment. He is, though. He is. He's just not establishment in the same way insufferable neolibs are. But he is very much the establishment of the Republican Party right now, and has been for almost a decade now. And the idea here that a cadre of billionaires and hedge fund managers that are being brought in to loot the country under his administration are not establishment figures is ludicrous. He's he's gone off the deep end, man.
Wednesday night, he made a super viral and super interesting point on X, posting, quote, "Two amazing things just happened. First, I went on about half a dozen right-wing shows, and they all agreed we should cut the Pentagon, prevent generals from working for defense contractors, and Edward Snowden should be pardoned. Second, absolutely no one on the left believes them."
No, we don't. This is like saying, well, Republicans keep saying they want better healthcare, so like Republican politicians are going to pass Medicare for all, right? What are you a child? Are you baby brained? Like, Republicans will constantly say they want to improve healthcare. You know, we're going to have an even better plan than the Romney care that was passed under Obama. They didn't do it while Donald Trump was in power and had a supermajority. They aren't going to do it now. The idea that Republicans are going to cut the military is absolutely laughable when they're discussing openly and in front of the entire country their options for invading or creating some kind of incursion or bombing campaign into Mexico. They're not going to cut the military. Now, they might say it to appear reasonable on their media shows, but are the people in actual positions within the Republican Party going to do it? And are the people who are on those same media shows going to give a single shit when it doesn't happen? Are they going to turn on Trump and, you know, tear him down off the pedestal and the cult malaise will dispel? No, they're not. There's zero indication of this ever happening. To me, what this really comes across as is Obama, you know, in like 2011, 2010, saying the fever will break. Or maybe even 2012. You know, the fever will break. We can work with Republicans. We can find a bipartisan plan on healthcare. We can pass bipartisan legislation that will help everyone in the country. The Republican fever will break. Surely Mitch McConnell will allow positive bills to be passed through. And Mitch McConnell stared at him in the face and said no to literally every single policy Obama put forward, no matter how big the compromise is. The fever is incapable of being broken within the Republican Party. They are jackals drawn to the corpse of power, and they are currently feasting. They're not going to cut the Pentagon. What they're going to do is try to cut Social Security. That's their entire goal. When they talk about cutting entitlements, that's the thing they actually want to cut.
So I knew we had to have Cenk here on Undercurrents to talk about what's possible during this very crucial moment for both the left and the right as power shifts here in DC and the culture shifts just about everywhere else. So Cenk Uygur, thank you for being here.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
This episode is sponsored by Lumen.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good, though.
People are afraid of getting canceled. I live for it. So here we go. Let's do it one more time.
So, Cenk,
Yeah, I think you're only gonna get the one more time, Cenk. I don't think your audience is gonna stick with you through this one, frankly. Like, this is an embarrassing pivot. I'm ashamed that I ever thought he had principles.
I think, you and I
I'm not just ashamed that I thought he ever had principles. I'm ashamed that I ever thought he had good political analyses. There was a time where I highly respected what he thought of the insider workings of Washington, D.C. And now I realize that this entire time he's basically just been a blowhard.
probably both agree the left has some good reasons to be suspicious about the right, but this is actually very real among voters and activists. When were you finally convinced?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, first of all, let me just double down on what you said there. Absolutely, they have very good reason to be skeptical. So, in the first Trump term, he talked a mean populist game, and then his major policy was giant corporate tax cuts, which is the least populist thing you could do.
Yep. So I guess he's gonna be super populist now, right? What do you mean? He would just do it again? He would just tell a bunch of lies and do it all over again? Are you... Yes, of course that's what he's doing! Of course!
So he's going to have to earn credibility on that front. And now I know that.
What do you mean he has to earn it? You're giving it to him! You're on a gigantic media circuit arguing that he has it.
The huge portions of MAGA will be like, how dare you? Trump doesn't have to prove anything to you, and he's already got all the credibility in the world, et cetera. Yeah, all right, brother, but let's actually do some populist things first, and that would be great, right? So I get that trauma.
Yeah, those populist things, like putting billionaires into his cabinet. The putting the billionaires that want to loot every aspect of American society for every single red cent that they can get. Yeah, that's real populism is making sure billionaires are in control. Are you... Like, this is baffling, man. TYT gas leak is getting more real every day.
But guys, we're supposed to be the non-authoritarian ones. We're supposed to be the open-minded ones. We're supposed to be the tolerant ones. We're supposed to be the...
We're not tolerant of fascist fucks, Jank. Like, yeah, you tolerate people different than you, but not fascists. You tolerate people who want to do, things that don't harm anyone else. That doesn't include fascists. Fascists want people like me dead, both for my political views and for who and what I am. They are here to kill us. Treating it as anything other than a battle of life and death is naive in the extreme. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I'm not trying to fearmonger here when I talk about this is essentially a battle between what will rule our country going forward. Is it going to be some form of democratic liberalism, or is it going to be fascism? That's what's at stake in the next several years here. And you can't tolerate people who want to take away your right to rule yourselves. You cannot tolerate people who want to implement authoritarianism, who are going around in interviews that TYT has done talking about how, yeah, he might become a king, but I wouldn't mind giving up my democratic rights if Donald Trump was king. This. You run the network that's been publishing these stories for years now.
The ones encouraging conversation, not shutting it down. I feel like things have been forgotten that should not have been forgotten. Okay, so now that I have apparently I've appointed myself ambassador to MAGAland, and so and I've got on all these shows, and I return with interesting news. So obviously it's time to shoot the messenger. So the news I bring back is no, their voters mean it. Do all of their voters
look? Their voters can mean anything. The general voting population of MAGA folks do not have coherent political views. They don't. They do not have coherent views. The only thing that unifies them, and this is borne out by data from the midterms, the only thing that unifies them is Donald Trump. When you take that away, they are an uncoordinated mess, because the only thing uniting Trump voters is Trump. That's it. That's the entire premise of MAGA. It's cult worship. As someone who grew up in like Protestant churches, I understand how Protestants worship, and they basically do the same thing to Donald Trump as they do to Jesus Christ. They are not invested in populism as a concept coming from Donald Trump.
Voters mean the things that they say? No, of course not. Do all of our voters agree on things? No. We've got,
Then why are you bringing it up as a point in your favor?
Extreme left, we've got corporate left, we've got populist, we've got all sorts of different people within our spectrum, and MAGA is the same way. They have different people within their spectrum. And what I'm seeing is there is a significant portion of their spectrum that actually means it. They are populist, they are anti-war, they are anti-corruption. And then when I made those specific proposals, sometimes some of the MAGA guys say back, wait a minute, this doesn't have anything to do with you. We already believe that. Yes, brothers and sisters, that's what I'm trying to explain to the left. It's not like you woke up one day and I convinced you overnight with a frickin' tweet, right? No, they already believed it. And so that's the news I'm bringing back to the left, and it has not been well received.
You said something important, that their voters are serious. Their voters mean it. Now, one of the frustrations if you're sort of populist on the right is what translates from voters and politicians to the politicians. So politicians might know now what voters want. Rand Paul said on this show a couple of days ago, Mitch McConnell is on the losing end of history. He's wrong on Ukraine, on foreign policy, and the voters know it now. But what do you see on the right in terms of, are politicians willing to be serious about those populist priorities of their own voters?
I see 1.5 people who are willing to be serious. So, look, when it comes to politicians, let's be clear and let's be honest. Both in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, there's
Fenry, I wasn't able to make it through Thanksgiving, so I probably missed that part. But it does not surprise me if Hassan rejected $1 million like ad deal for sponsorship deal from Polymarket, and Cenk took that money. It doesn't surprise me at all. Cenk has never been like a socialist, guys. He's never been an anti-capitalist. He's fully in favor of capitalism, and it's not surprising to me that he would jump at that chance.
There's a lot of proving that at least it needs to be done. They haven't proved. All right, I was gonna get really crass, but they have.
X Drums asks, "Hey chat, what member wrote Couchfucker, and can they write Cenk the Collaborator?" Gamergy, it seems you've been called upon.
Prove much, let's say, or anything really. So, does the establishment Republicans still run the party in the Senate and the House? Yes. Do the establishment Democrats run the House and the Senate on their side? Absolutely, right? So, can Trump break those establishment Republicans? Yes, and that's a new development, and that has not happened before. In terms of American politics that I've covered. So, but does he break them for his own purposes, or does he finally break them to deliver for the base? And so some of the
he does not care about delivering for the base. Donald Trump is out for exactly one person, and that's Donald Trump. That's what he's not out there doing things for the good of the base. He's doing things that would benefit him. If he thinks that like doing a photo op will benefit, him in the eyes of the base, he'll do that. But he's not going to tangibly give them anything. I'm trying to see, I found a really interesting chart here. It was projections. Maybe I can find it. I'll look for it here while we watch a bit more of this.
The things that he delivers for his base, I'm not going to agree with. Some of the deportations, etc., right? But other things like anti-war, that's a really great question. So That's why this cutting the Pentagon question is so interesting, because every right-wing populist show I go on, every one of them goes, yes, cut the Pentagon, cut it.
Found it real quick. So, folks, just as a preface here, Donald Trump currently has tax proposals out there, right? Like, he currently has a set of ideas that he wants to mainstream within the Republican Party and wants to pass as soon as he becomes president. And I'm just gonna throw up a projection chart put together by the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy that has been making the rounds since October. It's part of a report titled "A Distributional Analysis of Donald Trump's Tax Plan." Okay? Are you guys ready to see exactly what this populist wants to do when it comes to taxation? Let's take a look real quick, huh? Let's take a little looky-loo. Now, you'll notice on this chart that taxes are actually going to go up on everyone making less than $360,000 a year. And taxes are actually going to go down on the top 5% of earners in the country. The top 1% of Americans are going to be taxed, on average, $36,000 less. This is not a populist candidate. This is not a guy who is here to help the struggling working class. This is a guy who's here to make himself and his fellow 1%ers richer beyond all imagination. It's why Elon Musk was able to, invest $177 million into this election cycle, and he's now $200 billion richer. It's not rocket science, and Cenk is just lying to you. He thinks so little of his audience that he expects you to just buy it hook, line, and sinker when he tells you Republicans aren't trying to steal every single nickel you have. Also, Stone Corbel, thank you very much for resubscribing and for gifting a community sub. I really appreciate that. Thank you for supporting the stream.
Cut it more. We want to cut it more than you want to cut it. And so they're not lying in unison. I know the left thinks so, and they think it's a bear trap, and they're Admiral Akbar, and they're yelling at me, it's a trap, it's a trap. I know, brothers and sisters. I've been through all those wars. I've been through all those things. But these guys aren't lying. These are the voters. These are the voters. And again, you might not agree with a lot of what they think, but on the things that we agree on, it's not a trap. It's not some sort of meta trap, etc. You get it, right? But when it comes to the politicians, that's the proof is always in the pudding. So if you're part of MAGA who thinks, oh, Donald Trump's an angel and he's just definitely going to do it, everything we want, my guess is you're going to have a rude awakening, right? On the other hand, if you're on the left and you think, oh, Donald Trump is never going to listen to his base, even on the things that they agree with us on, or especially on the things that they agree with us on, and he'll never do it. Well, I'm telling you, I think there's a chance that he will. And it's, again, not angelic, not overall necessarily positive, net positive, but on some things that we agree on, I think there is some chance that Trump does it. And just saying,
if I'm being completely honest with you guys here, this is giving off some real red-brown alliance vibes from Nazi Germany when the communists and the fascists tried to team up. if you know your history, it didn't end well for the communists in Nazi Germany in that when they chose that tactic, actually. Some real sellout behavior here.
Saying that out loud obviously is heresy at this point.
The Pentagon is
Yeah, no, GamerG, this is they are speed running Jimmy Doreism right here. They looked at Dave Rubin, they looked at Jimmy Dore, and they said, "Damn, they're making a lot more money than us. Let's go." You know, like now's the time. We failed to stop Donald Trump from getting elected. Might as well join him. Can't beat him. Time to join him. Let's at least get rich. I mean, that's my only read on this, honestly. At this point, I've given them the benefit of the doubt for so long. For so long.
It's such an interesting case study because one of the reasons Republicans moved towards wanting more and more cuts is they saw what's considered DEI priorities, or like quote unquote woke priorities, creeping into the picture. And this is one of the things you've been talking about recently as well. So I'm curious for your take. One of the obstacles we've seen sometimes to the...
How much is this pure fear, given Trump saying on the news 2 days ago he was trying to punish independent media? Unironically, I stand by what I just said. I think it is capitulation. I think it is... you can't beat them, join them. You know, we might as well make a lot of money in the next 4 years and minimize ourselves as a target. You know, it can serve multiple masters at once, I guess.
Populist left and the populist right coming together is those culture war impasses. Do you think that wall is breaking down, or do you expect that to be a significant problem ahead?
No, it's always a significant problem. But yes, I see it cracks in that wall. In fact, one just happened yesterday that was super interesting. But first, on the culture wars, it's interesting because the populist left used to agree with this way more, but I now sense like populist right agrees more than even the left does.
The issue that Cenk is finding himself grappling with here is that he advocated for progress for so long, but he failed to keep up with the progress. You know, he branded himself as a progressive for such a long time, and now the progressive movement has outgrown what he felt comfortable with, and so now he's trying to rebrand as a populist. And he has absolutely no fucking idea what a populist is, because he keeps talking about the populist left and the populist right as if they are the same thing, and they're just not. One is a group of liars, and the other is a group of desperate people who are banding together in order to achieve a common goal to save their own asses. You know, like we're over here, when progressives and socialists are advocating populism, they're doing it sincerely in order to save people. Notice how populist conservatives aren't doing that. It is almost every single time, I'm not going to say every single time, but 99.9% of the time, these figures just pay lip service to some form of like economic populism, but when push comes to shove, they sit down, they shut up, and they lick the boots of power. That's what happens every single time. Every single time. Which is,
or at least some portions of them are beginning to say this. And I know this because I got it from Dan Holloway, who is, you know, a right-wing podcaster, does Drinking Bros. And he had two great lines. One of them was, look, I get it. These are wedge issues. And why are they called wedge issues? Because they're meant to drive a wedge between us. So
yeah, who's the one making that wedge successful here, Cenk? I wonder. Is it the people who have maintained a consistent set of values the entire time? Or is it the people suddenly breaking from those sets of values that they have espoused for years, incredibly publicly?
So that we don't unify and challenge the really powerful. I was like, yes, brother, yes, thank you. That's, you know, look, again, please, if you're on the left, take yes for an answer. That's what we've all been saying for 20 years now. So get away from the wedge issues. Don't let them distract you like that. But the left is right when they say, yes, but we're on the defense here. They think we're going.
Keep in mind, when Cenk talks about wedge issues, he's talking about trans people. He's talking about like trans people and like, I don't know, black people being able to work jobs without discrimination. like those are the two main wedge issues of the current political moment we're in.
On the office, but they're the ones passing bills against trans community, et cetera, et cetera. So that what I would say back to the right wing is, can you guys stop passing bills that affect 3.5 people and that drive a wedge between us when we need to actually unite to make sure that we fight anti-corruption and that we're actually we fight corruption.
Are you serious? You think that conservatives are gonna band together with you to fight corruption? Brother, they just put like 12 billionaires into like Trump's cabinet picks. Like, what are you talking about? They're not interested in fighting corruption. If they were interested in fighting corruption, they would have at least elected someone like Ron DeSantis. Like, Ron DeSantis, terrible individual, but at the very least, someone that's a little bit of a question mark in the minds of conservatives. You already had Donald Trump as president. You know he's corrupt as hell. His son-in-law got a $2 billion investment from the Saudi royal family for no explicable reason, to the point where even the accountants of the Saudi royal wealth fund were like, there's really zero reason why we should be giving them $2 billion. But they did it anyway.
I'm for progress. That's the thing that's opposite of Congress. Presumably Sync.
God, true Sake Tanuki. And Sake Tanuki, thank you for supporting stream with the incredibly generous 5 tier 1 subs. Appreciate it with the holidays, friendo. But let's keep going. We're doing boss rush mode.
Corruption, and we fight more endless wars, etc. Right?
Oh yeah, man, the guy who wanted to nuke North Korea and try and frame another country for it is really against war. Yeah, the guy who wanted to nuke a country preemptively and was only stopped because his top generals said no, who now wants to purge the upper echelons of the military on the basis of loyalty to him. Yeah, he's definitely anti-war. Hey, I've got a bridge I can sell you, Cenk. How much money are you getting from conservatives these days? You know, I'll sell it to you for a cool $10 million.
So now what's the crack in the wall that I'm beginning to see? Well, Trump, just yesterday, talking to Time Magazine, said they asked him about the trans issue, and he ran that ad that was so effective for him. And so trans people were genuinely and I think rightly worried. Like, what's he going to do? That ad was successful for him, or I don't know. Some of them believe that it wasn't, but that's fantasy land, right? And so is he going to take more away or take away our rights? And then Nancy Mace does the theatrics that she did in Washington, and Trump said, yeah, it doesn't affect that many people. Let's move on.
Again, why are you treating this with some level of credulity? He's not going to start talking about how, yeah, trans people are demons. He already has armies of people who will do that for him. He doesn't need to. He's being interviewed for their Person of the Year, something he's wanted forever. Because if you'll remember, and I remember this because my mind just retains random facts, he actually had fake Time Magazine Persons of the Year hung up in some of his Trump golf courses on the wall, framed. He had those in 2016. This is something he's wanted like his entire life. And he's finally getting it, and he's not going to go and like spew all the bigotry he genuinely feels, and he's not going to, discuss the plans that are already like that are already like circulating. The issue here is that you can say, "Oh, well, he's not going to go after tradespeople. Look what he said in this Look what he said in this interview where he was trying to look good. When the GOP's current plan and platform and Project 2025 all embrace banning transgender healthcare, not just for trans kids, which, by the way, Democrats just today voted on a bill that eliminates trans healthcare coverage for the children of service members. So that's some great collaborationism already happening. And also, they're going to ban that for kids at a national level, or at least they're going to try, and I don't really feel like the Democratic Party is going to stand up to that. I don't think people like Cenk are going to stand up to that, certainly. They're going to try and ban, and he's announced this and talked about it, they're going to try and ban trans people from sports. They're going to try to they're going to try to ban trans healthcare for people of all ages. And they're going to try to make it, they're going to try and do the bathroom bills. They're going to try and criminalize doctors. They're going to do all the things. Okay? They're going to try and bring us back to the 1990s transphobic world in a best case scenario. That's the best case outcome we're looking at. He's already pledged to kick trans people out of the military and cut off their benefits. The idea, well, he said in one interview that he's going to be nice to trans people. No, he's not. We're still a useful punching bag to him. Oh, God. The 90s were objectively better. The 90s were not objectively better. Don't rose-colored glasses this. In the 90s, people showed up with rocks to stone you if they found out you were gay or trans. In the 90s, they'd crucify you on the side of the highway if they found out you were gay or trans. The 90s were bad. They were survivable. A lot of gay and trans people survived the 90s in a way that they didn't survive the AIDS epidemic of the 80s. But they weren't pleasant.
And I was like, really? And then they said, Sarah McBride says that this is nonsense about the bathrooms. She's obviously the first transgender congresswoman, and he largely agreed with her. So that was a bit stunning. So if you say, I don't believe him, and they're going to do all these things anyway, okay, fine. Proof's always in the pudding. Absolutely. I get.
It's really convenient when at every turn he just caveats everything by saying, yeah, I mean, sure, they might all be liars like they have been every single other time. But, I think we should work with them anyway. What are you talking about, you dipshit?
Get you. And if he does take away constitutional rights, let's all fight back together, right? But if he's saying, I'm going in your direction, I think the right answer is, okay, come a little further, right? And take the win.
When it sounds like that's not the response you've gotten, so tell us a little bit more about, as you're bringing this news back to the left, how people have reacted.
Yeah, and parts of it I understand because they've been burned so many times. And, Dave Rubin, Jimmy Dore, Tulsi Gabbard. So what they first do is,
yeah, you're doing, even he's admitting he's doing the same fucking thing.
I'm a classical liberal, but, I just happen to think that the right wing is right about 50% of stuff.
It's exactly what you're doing. How are you describing this with no self-awareness?
70%, 90%, 200%, right? And that's the pattern, right? Usually. And so, and then some of them are clever enough to hold on to Medicare for all because they know it's never going to pass anyway, right? So in their mind. So they're like, yeah, I'm still on the left. I'm for Medicare for all. But everything else, Tucker Carlson's right about, right? Okay, so no, I'm not. I don't know how many times we got to prove ourselves in the Young Turks. We're the oldest show in internet history, longest running show there is, the original YouTubers. Okay, we'll prove it one more time. And then another time and another time. No, our policies are the same.
They're not. You have materially shifted from what you were preaching like a year or two ago. Your policies are not the same. Your approach to trans people is not the same. Your approach to civil rights and healthcare are not the same. This is just revisionist, like it's either revisionist denialism or it's just revisionist lying. There's a very fine line between those two.
So we're trying to help by uniting the country. And I know that the left, portions of the left, are not in a unity mood, and they're so worried, and there was so much fear. And I think a lot of that fear was legitimate. But my point is, guys, once they do the bad things, let's unite to fight back. But if they're starting to go in the right direction a little bit, instead of saying no and pushing them away, say yes, happy to have you here. Let's keep going in the right path. And they just don't want to. And again, it's not a blanket thing, and we have a huge spectrum on the left as well. But I am
I'm sorry. This is rolling over and showing your belly while your enemy is preparing to stab you multiple times in said belly. You know, I'm real sorry here, but like you don't put on armor after you've already been stabbed. You know, you put on the armor, you prepare for the fight before the fight starts, not after it started.
I'm seeing a lot of pushback from, I'm amused by this, but thought leaders on the left who are like, I had a thought, we should reject yes for an answer. And we should hate the other side. And somebody got mad at me the other day, significantly mad at me.
And like, hey, guess what? I know that there are some people in chat who are like, oh, I can't believe we're covering this. It's blah. Guys, we have to. They're the largest network of, news network on the left, or at least historically on the left. People need to understand this shift that they've been doing. Or at the very least, they need to understand that this is horrific politics. And so, like, as someone who is, I have talked at length in the past about my respect for the Young Turks, and I have talked at length in the past about, good takes that they've had. So I feel like some level of obligation to debunk and to engage with this in a critical way and in an angry way, I think. And I think it's fair to be angry here. It's disappointing as hell.
Because he said, if you talk to MAGA at all, that's immoral.
Oh yeah, Cenk is purposely distinct when he says economic progressive. Absolutely, Jess.
Because they are all racist. I'm like, all right, brother, I just don't agree with that. So have at it, Hoss. And you.
I'm sorry, what?
To MAGA at all, that's immoral because they are all racist.
No one is saying that. You're creating a straw man, right? Because there's a huge difference between talking to a singular MAGA voter, right? Versus going on to a MAGA podcast that has millions of subscribers or hundreds of thousands of subscribers and kissing their ass. And not challenging them on various issues. Because the issue, one of the major issues here is that Republicans support systemically racist policy. So individually, they might not believe themselves to be racist, And it's, you can conceivably find MAGA folks who are not voting for Trump because they really want to stick it to like different racial or ethnic groups. But those individuals are not the people hosting these MAGA podcasts and perpetuating and spreading the systemic racist policies. Like there's a very big difference between a ground level voter who's just trying to live their life and media personalities who make their living off of extremist rhetoric. And then there's a more subtle difference between those media folks and the actual politicians.
I'm like, all right, brother, I just don't agree with that. So
and merging all of this as if like, oh yeah, people are angry at Cenk because he talked to a racist MAGA voter. No, we're angry at Cenk because you're going on conservative podcasts and licking their boots and saying it's in the name of like attracting right-wing populists. Those right-wing populists aren't going to vote for Medicare for all. They're not going to vote for, a leftist. They're not going to vote for a Democrat. Like what positive action are you thinking of doing here? Like what positive outcome is going to come of this?
About it, Hoss, and you go do your thing and we'll do our thing, and it's a free country.
Okay, so let's pause actually on that point, because it's easy to remember in like 2017 when CNN was in its like most frenzied days. You actually kind of heard stuff like that a lot. You are necessarily racist if you voted for Donald Trump, because even if you don't harbor any personal animus that you're conscious of, you're participating, you're complicit in this systemic system of racism. Why, Cenk, do you think it's important to say not everybody who voted for Donald Trump is racist? What makes you...
But you're discussing two different things. One is interpersonal racism. The other is systemic. These are two different kinds of racism. One is the racism of, I just hate black people. And the other is the racism of, well, we have a set of economic policies that mostly corrals African Americans on one side of town and puts white people on the other side of town, and we systematically defund, the bad side of town and funnel funds into the good side of town. One of those, there's a. I shouldn't need to really go on to explain why these two things are different in that regard. But there's a constant conflation among conservative shitheels like this lady between those two things.
Confident about that.
Yeah. So another good question. So first of all, the Democrats started with all their voters are racist. And they ended the 2024 election with, some portion of our voters are racist. No, you're just a shit candidate. And you stand for the corrupt establishment, and then you're surprised when people don't vote for you. Like, everybody's in a bubble. And people were, on the left and the mainstream media were like, oh my God, MAGA's in such a bubble and they're in a cult, etc. And there was some truth to that, or at least for portions of their spectrum, right? And big portions, I would argue, back in the day. And I'll come back to that. But then you think mainstream media, you think you're not in a bubble? You think the politicians aren't even corrupt? You think that the donor
They're owned by billionaires, Cenk.
money doesn't affect them?
It's by design.
I don't know a more lunatic bubble than that. Extreme right, extreme left has got nothing on mainstream media, and they're in totally insane bubble. And then now for the Democrats, they're like, well, since we're God's gift to humanity, and obviously taking corporate cash is like the greatest thing in the world, and we should all brag about it. That can't be the reason we lost. Turns out Latino men are sexist, and white women are racist.
Remember how the other day we watched that video about intersectionality with Ben Shapiro, and I had to break down what intersectionality is? I feel like we need to do that again. Because different cultural groups and ethnic groups can have different degrees of racism towards other ethnic or racial groups, or different levels of sexism, or, like, just because someone is a member of a minority doesn't mean that they cannot, have a hand in patriarchy, or, just because like a white straight man is, not oppressed by white straight, patriarchy, doesn't mean they can't also be oppressed by on the basis of their on the basis of like having a disability, we just covered it last night, exactly, trans girl Jade. And so like this can be true. Like what he's criticizing the Democratic Party for saying can be true. That can be a factor. It isn't why Kamala Harris lost, but it might be one factor among like a dozen other ones, right?
Okay, and that's why we lost the election. Well, brothers and sisters, if you blame 98% of the country of being racist and sexist, you're not going to win elections. So that's point number one. Point number two.
I will say, not a great strategy to just like point at your base and say, y'all are sexist, that's why we're not winning the election. That's not a great election strat. That's true. But that's why you have to present like you have to present like an actual economic message that resonates with the working class. That's what you got to do.
Two is, it isn't true. So for my friends on the left, am I saying, oh, I absolve all of MAGA land and they're just the most wonderful human beings? No, Matt Walsh still exists. Okay, Laura Loomer still exists. Ann Coulter had said they deep hate.
I mean, like, I feel like there might be some data out there that indicates that it might be a little bit true. Okay, look, there's data out there that on different like racial groupings in America and their views on sex or gender, race, class, etc. There's all kinds of polling out there from like Pew Research about different groups of people and how they view the world. Like, for example, I'm looking at a Pew Research survey from May 14th of this year that indicates that, like, over half of Latino women view workplace sexism as a somewhat important issue in their day-to-day lives. Okay? And it's 52% of women say that versus 44% of Hispanic men. There are differences. There are differences. We all live under patriarchy. It's not like that. That's recognizing that is part of intersectionality and part of understanding a complicated world.
Some folks in there have a deep hatred for the immigrant community, and they don't mean undocumented immigrants. Most people mean undocumented immigrants, but there's some folks who are like, no, Camp of the Saints. My hero is the French character in that book who goes and murders all the immigrants. And Coulter has said that. Steve Bannon has said that. Stephen Miller, etc. They all love that book. Anybody who says
It's true. You should all watch Jose's video essay on Camp of the Saints. It's really, really good.
they love that book, watch out. Those are the worst, in my opinion. Okay. So does that still exist in some portions of the right? Of course. And people on the right, you think just like if you're not racist and you're on the right, that doesn't mean there aren't people on your side that are. Right?
No, but the issue here is that the vast majority of people within MAGA don't consider themselves racist. You're the protagonist of your own story. Most racists don't wake up every day and say, man, I'm racist and I love it. Like they view themselves as non-racist. They view themselves as people who just are willing to say it like it is, like that's how they view themselves. And so like they're just telling it like it is when they're saying, oh yeah, whites should have their own country. You can see it all over white supremacist groups. They will straight up say, I'm not racist. I just think white people and black people shouldn't live together. You know?
Right? So that's what we have to understand. And if just
And like we covered a story about we covered a story the other day that the New York Times published about an undocumented immigrant who's lived here his entire life with the exception of like the first 8 months of his life. And he's lived all of his, 30 years on this earth in Rome, Georgia. And he's married, he has kids, he has a stable job, and his father-in-law, who was like the best man at his wedding, voted for Trump. And when like he had to have a sit down with his father-in-law to tell him basically, we might need a lot of assistance going forward because I could get deported, and like that's going to mean a lot for my kids, for my wife, your daughter, and like we're going to have to like figure out a way to get through this and we'll need your help. And he was like, well, they're not going to deport you. And essentially went on to say, you're one of the good ones. Donald Trump is only going to deport the bad ones. Like that's, I think, indicative of where a lot of people are in America. A lot of MAGA are in America, I should say. And like those kinds of people, like, oh, he's just going to deport the bad ones. They don't view themselves as racist. They just view themselves as realists on crime. It doesn't matter that like their position flies in the face of actual crime statistics. It doesn't matter that the people most likely to get deported by Donald Trump are people who the government can already locate, aka people like his son-in-law. It doesn't matter. Because while they might not view themselves as interpersonally racist, they support systemically racist policy.
all right, I can get into apparently a very long conversation about that. But to the point you asked about when did I begin to realize it? And look, in 2020, I think I was so mad at MAGA and they were so unquestioning of Trump. And the thing that made me the most mad is I'm like, come
They are still unquestioning of Trump.
on, guys. He didn't win the election. He lost 61 court cases in a row, presented literally no evidence. Fox News had to pay nearly nearly $1 billion for the lies about.
Yeah, Poonages. This is why exactly, like recognizing that all of us contain in some degree internalized racism, sexism, internalized ideas of patriarchy, etc., is the way that we help to undo or at least, alleviate some of the effects of those systemic bigotries, right? Like, by recognizing it within ourselves, that's the first step to actually doing something about it. It's the first step to actually changing your heart for the better. And, like, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who hear that and they're just like, oh, you're saying everyone's racist, so racism doesn't even mean anything anymore. And it's deeply frustrating because that's not at all what that's about. It's about recognizing that everybody has flaws and seeking to correct your flaws,
The election. You think they'd pay $1 billion if they weren't lying? On and on and on, right? And they just nope. Donald Trump is God, and we won the election, etc. So I had every right to be frustrated, and we could still fight over that, right? But he did win this election, so I think we should move on. But that's why I was so skeptical. But I think I overreached.
I'm sorry. Like, he did win this election, so I think we should move on. He tried to overthrow democracy last time, Jank. Dude lost the election last time and tried to overthrow democracy. He's a fascist. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. He incited an attack on the Capitol of the United States of America, where they were chanting to hang the vice president. They built a gallows outside the Capitol building, Jank. There was one guy between a mob of thousands of people out for blood and the main governing body of the United States. Well, let's just move past that. All right.
And I remember saying, look, I being in the same camp that a lot of the folks are in today and going, I don't want to talk to those guys. I have no interest in Trump voters. And I don't think I'm going to learn anything from them. Right. Well, that was the wrong attitude. And part of what I think we have to begin to acknowledge is that this base is not the same base as 2016 or even 2020. A lot of this base is filled with the bros from the Rogans and the Portnoys and Theo Vons, et cetera, and that is a very different base than what he started with in 2016, which was filled with evangelical Christians.
You mean what? Okay, one, his base is still those same evangelical Christians. Two, the bros are the same people who voted for him last time too, along with impressionable youngsters who've grown up listening to red pill content. Okay? And three, this is exactly the kind of base that happens in fascism. We've talked about fascism ad nauseum on this channel. You can go and watch me read through Umberto Eco's Fascism essay. I did it on the channel. I read through the entire thing in like an hour, okay? Go watch that video, and you will understand that one of the main premises of fascism is an appeal to a disaffected and alienated sense of wronged masculinity. In times of like economic strife and turmoil, like in the Weimar Republic, for example, young men felt alienated and disaffected and were particularly susceptible to fascist rhetoric. We are seeing that play out again in 2024 America. It's not it's not even subtle. You don't have to reach for it. I feel like you understand. Like me just spelling that out, making that connection makes it blaringly obvious. Like the sun has risen. Are you saying Cenk is a fragile male? I'm saying that Cenk is not understanding the nature of what he's talking about.
And I got no interest in Christian nationalism. But I think some portions of that right-wing populism is our lost tribe of populists. But again, the left will hate me for saying that.
You're dumb. You're just dumb. Like, you aren't going to appeal to those right-wing populists by capitulating on culture war issues. You know, like I feel like Cenk's position here is that, well, like basically, oh, these are all Bernie bros. You know, they voted for Bernie and then he lost and they became disaffected and then they voted for Trump. Yeah. That's what happened. Except the thing is, Bernie didn't appeal to those people by throwing minorities under the bus. He maintained his support for the marginalized and the alienated in society while pushing a populist economic message, a populist working class message. Because ultimately, that is what cuts through all of the culture war bullshit. Because it didn't matter that Bernie Sanders was pro-trans people. It didn't matter that he's in favor of trans rights and human rights largely to these broadly conservative folks, because at the end of the day, Bernie Sanders was taking the economic populist message. But what Cenk is taking away from that, apparently, is that you should embrace the conservative populist, you know, social positions in order to try and woo them over, instead of just saying, look, we're going to embrace the economic populism. Join us or no, or don't, you know, be sincere or don't, you know. It's not like that's the approach you have to take. You appeal to these people by pushing and presenting your proposals for Medicare for all, your proposals for democracy in the workplace, your proposals for unionizing workplaces, your proposals for higher minimum wage, your proposals for, a 4-day work week, stuff like that is how you appeal to these people. You don't appeal to them by throwing trans people under the bus. That is stupid. You don't appeal to them by saying, okay, yeah, these mass deportations, they're pretty bad, but some parts of them have some merit. Like, that's not how you win these people over. You just have to have the strong economic message. You don't have to sell your soul to have that. And I feel like I'm seeing some soul selling here.
And only time will tell.
Well, and that's the next question I had, basically, is I remember there was a hinge point in 2016, early 2017, when it looked like there was some real self-reflection happening on the left and even in the media, but it was so short-lived, and then immediately sort of there was this pivot to Russia and collusion and all of that. So do you think right now the left is like trending in the right direction, or is it trending exactly in the wrong direction, again, sort of like doubling and tripling down?
Number one, it means by it matters what we mean by the left, right?
Right.
So
also, I'm gonna take this opportunity. Hey, folks, we've been going for an hour and a half now. If you've been enjoying the show, please hit the follow button on Twitch, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, like the YouTube stream, and please consider supporting stream with subs, donos, memberships, etc., because that is what makes this show possible. I could not do it without your support, without your monetary support. Ad revenue, some of you may have seen my post on Blue Sky, but anyone talking about anything remotely political or just being a trans person who sometimes, even if you're just a trans person on Twitch these days, that ad revenue has cratered. Like utterly and completely. Running the same amount of ads that I did 3 months ago, that was, it wasn't a whole lot of money from ads, but it was like, maybe like $100 a week or so, maybe. It's now less than $1. Less than $1 per week in ads on Twitch. Irascended Kitten, thank you for the $5 tip. I really do appreciate it. Wrong Forlorn, Twitch still runs ads on my channel because I have the politics tag. And they, by the way, forced that politics tag on my channel. They still run the ads, they just don't pay me money. Yeah, same amount of ad time. I looked at my monthly ad time. There had been, over the course of like, 150 hours of streaming or so, like there had been 11 hours of ads. I got paid like $1 for like the month of November or the month of November. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So 100 a week is so much. Well, I have like let me put it this way, Fire. $100 a week in ads on Twitch is not enough to pay my rent. It's not enough to pay like even a quarter of my rent. And now it's like 25 cents per week. So, do the math on that one.
One of my favorite journalists. Yes, I use that word. There is no escape, Jack.
Ah, God damn it. Well, Michael Reich, thank you for the $28 super chat and 37 cents. I really do appreciate it. It does mean the world to me because you guys are what allow me to continue doing what I do. Yeah. So we'll see. No, but it gets Yeah. But this is what I do for a living. You understand that, right? Like I do this full time. This is what I spend like 150 hours a month doing this show live and another 150 hours a month doing stuff behind the scenes by myself. Like,
I'd like to thank you, Miss Jack, for helping me quit smoking. Listening to your streams keeps my mind off cigarettes. Purple Heart.
All-powerful Kagan, demonstrating your power by proving you are stronger than nicotine. Good job. No, Fire, it's okay. It's why I do the ad segments. It's why I do top of the hour ad break, or attempt to do it. It's because like I need to really reinforce that like my channel is not large enough to exist off of ad revenue. Like if I look at YouTube real quick. Let's see. Yeah, on YouTube, I make $150 per month off of ad revenue. So, you know, in total, ads bring in about $154 a month. That is less than 1/10 of my rent. So all of this to say, I rely on you guys in order to make this show happen. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I cannot stress enough that this show is only possible because of you guys. No, Fire, I got you. It's why I'm just trying to clarify my point. Shark Nation, thank you for the $5 dono. I appreciate you. Thank you so goddamn much. Did you, Amir El Paslan? No spoilerinos for our next segment, okay? Anyway, thank you so much. Please consider supporting the show however you can, whether it's by pushing buttons, sharing the stream, or dropping those subs and donos. Let's get back to it.
So let's start with, you know, the last time where they pretended to do self-reflection, right? There's two different ways of being conciliatory, right? And trying to, not really, it's not even an olive branch. It's just like, oh, I hate to say this, sounds so Hillary Clinton, listening to him. But, okay, but seriously, it's just the human act of listening, right? Hey, what are they saying these days? Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, but you don't need to do that on a far right-wing podcast. You don't need to do that on fascist sympathizing podcasts. You can do that interpersonally. You can do that in ways that are not bootlicking.
I wonder if they mean that, right? So that's the portion that Anna and I and the Young Turks is going with. And by the way, the TYT is a network. We have tons of hosts. We have like over 24 hosts, and some of them don't agree with us.
Geek Prime.
But we do something radical at TYT. We have open minds. So you're allowed to think that. I'm allowed to think this, and then we have a conversation about it, right? So, but there's
then we have a conversation about it. You mean the same way you're having a conversation with Sam Cedar? Oh wait, you're not doing that. Weird. Weird that there's like one guy you don't want to have a conversation with.
There's a second way of being so-called conciliatory, and that's the Morning Joe route, right? Where you go and you kiss the ring a little bit and you go, okay, I guess he's the new power at hand, and this is the CNN way of thinking, and we kiss up to power. So we now go kiss up to power. And I get why some people on the left go, oh, that must be what you're doing. And
you literally are trying to schmooze up Elon Musk. Like, I don't know how else to really interpret that.
You know, I even saw a conspiracy theory that I'm afraid since I'm Muslim that I'm going to be the first arrested or something, and that's why I'm going to kiss up to them, right? Well, okay, everybody's got a theory, right? So no. If you go kiss up to them and you say, oh, now I think you're right. Oh, I really want access.
That's what you're doing. You're going and saying, yeah, they're, you know, these far right folks, they kind of have a point. Sit down and have a conversation with Sam Cedar, you coward. Like the virtue signaling of like you're open to debate while you're like railing against the one guy who may be able to bring you to your senses. But it's all,
oh no, Sam Cedar. Wow, what a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Says, well, then yeah, you're doing the wrong thing, and you're doing it for your own greed and power and access and all
You know Sam would destroy him and his toilet. Legendary dumps.
those things. And I get why people are concerned about it. But it is actually possible to be genuine and go, now that the establishment for the next 4 years has been partially defeated, can we get anything positive done? Because
No, because you have the far right establishment coming in. They're also establishment. They're just on the right.
populist left, brothers and sisters, the establishment has been our opponents for as long as I've been around, for a quarter of a century. So now that their walls have been partially torn down, let's go inside and see if we can get some positive things done inside that castle, right? Okay, so again, that's my take on it. But one
They're not letting you inside the castle, Jenk. Best case scenario, they put you at the kids' table. They're not letting you up to the big boy table. Are you kidding me? God damn!
Happy holidays, Jack. All my love.
Lady Raincloud, thank you. That is incredibly generous. Holy shit, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays.
Oh no, Sam Sater. What a fucking nightmare. Also, did you see that a TYT host quit recently live on air on another podcast?
I did see that, Fenry. I am not familiar with the TYT host that quit, but I did see that. God damn, Lady Raincloud. Just
Socialism is when the government does stuff.
Today, the government is Lady Raincloud. Thank you so much. And we will do Trombone Champ, but after we finish this segment.
One more thing about the left. In my opinion, there's three different portions of the left. There's the establishment left / Democrats. That's
no trombones. Okay, I will bow to the donor's choice when it comes to trombones. But I may keep track in my mind and play them all at the end of the month. All unredeemed trombone champs.
It's the hopeless crew: Biden, Pelosi, Morning Joe, The View, etc. I can't stand those guys. I mean, they're leaders. Their voters are good people who are being misdirected by those folks. And then you've got what I'm calling the max left, what the right would call the woke left, extreme left, etc. So the max left also has good folks, and they also mean well, and they're more closer to the populist left on some of the policies, and they should be our natural allies. So we disagree on some of the policies that I consider fringe and they consider essential. That's called America. Let's just disagree without assuming terrible intent and you're going to turn right wing and you're doing it for.
Wait, but we're not assuming terrible intent. They're telling us that they're going to do these things. Like, it's not like it's a set of assumptions. It's not like we're like out here being like, oh yeah, we don't know what they actually want to do. They haven't said anything. We're just assuming this because they're from Texas or something like that. We're not making assumptions based off of like their location or anything. We're going off of what they're telling us. And on their past history of what they did, i.e., the actions that they took in the past and the things they're saying now, which perfectly align. You can't argue that it. Oh man, the left is making all these unfair assumptions based on the things conservatives said and did. Those aren't unfair assumptions.
For money, etc. Hold on, let's find out, right? And then I think the heart of the left is populist left. Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, Young Turks. We believe in economic populism, higher wages.
You don't believe in economic populism. You helped squash a union. You brought a union busting firm in. The TYT. Like, what are you talking about, bud? Like, I don't know. Like, this rings so insincere to me. And like, Notice how he's talking. Oh yeah, we're the economic populist left. You know, we believe in. Yeah, you don't believe in the progressive social causes anymore. Interesting, huh?
Is universal health care, paid family leave. I can, have the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau make sure that there are cops on the Wall Street beat. Don't let the Wall Street robber barons rob us blind.
Yeah, those billionaires sure are gonna make sure that that doesn't happen.
Anti-war, anti-corruption. That's the heart of the left, and those are I think, the best people on earth. And those are the folks that can effectuate change, and the ones that I'm trying to influence in a direction that I think is more positive.
Are you optimistic that they're going in a more positive direction?
Yes and no. So
Okay, the one positive thing I will say about this show is that I like this light. This electric light that's made to look like a gas lamp. I think it's neat. I like it. I would buy one of these for my home. That's the one nice thing I will say about anything on this program.
Are you optimistic that they're going in a more positive direction?
yes and no. So right now, no. So, but Emily, I've been through this so many times. So whenever we try to do something different or something positive, bold, right, on the Young Turks, we immediately get pushed back.
Wait, what? Wait. I will reiterate, those green volumes beside that light are upside down. How can you tell? It's so blurry. How can you tell? If that's true, that's very funny.
They're going in a more positive direction?
Yes and no. So right now, no. So, but Emily, I've been through this so many times. So whenever we try to do something different or something positive, bold, right, on the Young Turks, we immediately get pushed back from other hosts, other influencers, right? Oh no, they're terrible. And yeah, there's a little bit of like, and sometimes it's very, very literal. Make sure you unsubscribe from them and subscribe to us, the real left, the pure left, the 280% left, right? Okay, all right. Look, run your thing, okay? So, but there's a lot of people who genuinely are concerned. Like, oh wait, are they going in the Morning Joe direction? Are they this, that? No problem. So what happens is, unfortunately, good people are convinced by those guys for a while, and
Yeah, I mean they're convinced because of what you're doing. Now, if they come back to the left at some point, like if they have a come to Jesus moment or whatever, like that'll be a good thing, I guess, but it's kind of shown that their political instincts are completely shot at this point. Like there needs to be like a complete reevaluation of their political strategy. Do what? Oh man, growing up in a Protestant, fundamentalist, religious, evangelical background, I never really thought of the phrase "come to Jesus" before, and now.
Come, I'd do anything for Jesus.
I need to just real quick here. Need to look and find the thing I'm thinking of here. Let's just grab this real quick.
Come. I found over 1,700 times in the Word of God where this word is used, come, and that's not coming in the rest of the comes, but that's just come on. Preaching my heart out for 45 minutes to an hour.
Got some Jazz Dog original.
And it was one of our Lord's favorite words. Come unto me, come and drink, come and dine. Jesus said, come. And it goes on and 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 on.
Let's take a little dance break.
universal in its application. Come. What did Jesus say to his disciples? Come.
It's
There's
so
no room
good.
for discussion, friend. Guess what? Come. Come. It commands obedience. Come. How many of you had the Holy Ghost come in you? He was crucified for you. He died for you. He did everything for you.
Things that have
It's time
aged
for
like
you
fine
to-
wine.
Oh!
Jazz Dog, you absolute legend. Thank you
that one
so much
word
for making this.
And it was one of our Lord's favorite words. Come unto me. Come and drink. Come and dine. Jesus said, come, come. And it goes on and 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 on. Come.
Incredible stuff. Top tier, Jazz Dog. Top tier. All right. On that note, got some of our wiggles out, I think. Here we go.
And this is the normal pattern. And then they'll poke their head back into Young Turks and go, well, I don't get it. In fact, one of the hosts in one of the things that I watched said it too. He's like, I don't get it though. Every time I watch the Young Turks, they sound really good and they sound really like they're totally on our side. And the other two are like, shh, 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 shh.
That's hilarious.
So people will come and they'll check it out. And of course, we've got our core audience that hasn't gone anywhere. And they're like, oh,
Gonna come clean, I never cared for TYT. I found them shrill and smug back in the day when I was more right. Feels like we traded places. Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? You know, I liked TYT back in the day because it reflected my dissatisfaction and anger that I had towards our political system. But that wasn't enough. I needed more substance, so I gravitated to, you know, more substantial programming, and then opened up my own little bit of the internet. And hopefully I've been offering you know, some substance when it comes to my political takes that helps people kind of mature in their understanding of the world. How many people have been hurt and disappointed by people we trusted in this space in the last 4 years? Oh, so many times, Lady Raincloud. So many goddamn times. The real ones out there are so few and far between. It's so hard to find media folks in the streaming space who are, you know, true blue allies, you know?
oh yeah, these are the guys who are the other shows as obsessed with policy as we are? You know, I started Just Democrats, and I don't, this is a long story, but I'll just give you a portion of it here that's relevant. I got kicked out for some BS cancel culture stuff, right? But did I then turn around and get bitter and go, okay, make sure you vote against the Justice Democrats. Don't give them any money. They were mean to me. Me. No, I did the exact opposite. I said, guys, eyes on the prize. If they don't win, we'll have no allies to push for policy inside Congress. So forget about me. Forget about Just Democrat leaders. Forget about everything. Eyes on the prize. Let's get folks elected. Now, I think they went a little awry after they got elected, but that's, you know, MSNBC. I turned.
You know, one of the things I've been talking about consistently on my show since the election has been the need for people to get involved with their local and state level politics, by joining DSA, by joining your local Democratic Party. Show up to the meetings, because most people don't show up to the meetings, and 90% of political change is showing up. And unironically, I think that this is the approach we need to take. It's not enough for us to agitate outside the halls of power right now. We need to be inside those halls of power, agitating both outside and inside of them. You know, it needs to be a coordinated movement. And I think that we're too far
I'm headed
gone
off to bed,
from
Veg.
this.
Your streams make me feel more hopeful. Anyway, here's more pics of my late doggo Oliver Peepo Comfy.
Smelanie, thank you for the $5 dono and for sharing Oliver with us. Let's take a quick look.
If Sink trying to be a centrist populist.
He's trying to be a conservative populist. He thinks that conservative populism and leftist populism are the same. Look, guys, Oliver. What an adorable dog. I'm so sorry for your loss, Melanie. Oliver looks like a really, really good friend. Oh, he's wearing a little jacket. Wearing a little hoodie. That's adorable. I'm not crying, you're crying. What a baby. What kind of dog was Oliver? An adorable creature. To me, this is like the ultimate friend shape, you know? What an incredible little friend-shaped guy. I love him. Thank you for sharing Oliver with us, Melanie. He's a Westie Poo. My partner and I have been considering getting dogs. I'm gonna look into that one. That looks like another type of dog we might want to get. What a little cutie. What is it? I have no idea what a wobbly is. Someone needs to do a worker co-op streaming politics show so it doesn't turn to the dark side. I agree. I do agree. The issue is most streamers don't have a large enough operation to make a worker co-op show, you know? Put me in, couch! Something JD Vance says on a daily basis. All right.
Turn down a lot of money to do the right thing, but it's okay. We'll prove it one more time and then 8 more times. Come and watch and you'll see. Yep. No, they were right. Left wing.
Oh, IWW, wobbly is the term for IWW? Okay, based. I support that. IWW is based as hell.
Populists, Bernie and Roe agree completely with them. I mean, did Bernie turn MAGA? I mean, is that the absurdity that we're going to get into now? Because Bernie and I agree nearly 100%.
Yeah, so I know actually this is interesting. You've been in touch with Elon Musk, and I'm sure you've been getting a lot of questions about this. I'm curious, Cenk, how you found him in conversation, if he's been genuinely really open.
Yeah, no, I don't ever want to overhype anything. That's why I said, like, I didn't come up with the ideas of cutting the Pentagon. That's been around forever,
Yeah.
and the right wing already agreed to it, right? So they're not agreeing to my proposal. They already believed it, right?
Right,
So,
okay.
and in this case, I just said it on X and Elon responded and then Donald Trump Jr. responded. But there's no like secret meetings where Elon and I are hanging out, grabbing sushi and going, oh yeah, what should we do with the left, huh? Okay. Or what should we do with the Pentagon? Like,
oh, Jazz Dog, my late dog was also named Sammy. What a noble creature. I fucking love dogs. They're amazing. What a good pupper.
it hasn't gotten that deep at all. I mean, Donald Trump Jr. said about the when Elon said, give me a suggestion, I said, you know, at a minimum, we should make sure the generals can't work as defense contractors after they retire, because that's a massive conflict of interest. They funnel billions of dollars to those companies because they're going to make millions after they retire. And again, it was the right-wing base that was like, yes, 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 yes. That's what Elon and Donald Trump Jr. are responding to, their own base, not me. So, but beyond that, we haven't
Sorry for your loss, Jazz Dog.
gone to any like internal conversations beyond it.
No, that's good, because that's what one of the things I wanted to ask is if you've heard from other people, like outside of Elon. You mentioned Donald Trump Jr., you've been going on all of these shows. So we just talked about sort of the response you've gotten from the left during your listening tour, your Clintonian listening tour, Cenk. But what have you gotten from the right? How have you found the right throughout this?
Yeah, here we go. I'm going to brace for impact. They've been really nice. Don't hate me, left. Don't hate me. Hey,
They're coming for you.
watch the interviews. Yeah, I know you're not going to watch the interviews. It would be platforming them in your own eyeballs. I got it. But they already.
I mean, I watch a lot of right-wing content here, Jenk. We're doing a debunk, boss rush tonight, and unfortunately, this has been a very, very large road speed bump in doing that, but unfortunately necessary in these times.
They have the big platforms. They don't need you to platform them. So they just can't get it out of their head like, oh, Kamala Harris shouldn't go on Joe Rogan. That would platform him. No, he's platforming you, not the other way around. Okay, Trump got 50 million views. He got platformed. They can't step out of it. Okay, so do I still have heated debates and arguments with the right wing from time to time when I go in there? Sure, of course, right? We'll argue about Social Security. We'll argue about portions of healthcare. We'll argue about trans rights, etc. Right? But when we agree,
Wait, what are you disagreeing with them on trans rights about? You're in like perfect harmony with them. What are you talking about?
they don't fight, and they're not, being jerks about it. Okay, you could claim it's a trap. You can claim I'm a sucker and
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
argue about trans rights, etc. Right? But when we agree,
Don't worry,
they don't
Mr.
fight,
Uygur, I
and they're
won't be
not.
hating you. I will be popping champagne bottles when you die.
Olympians, thank you for the $5 dono. That seems a bit extreme. I don't know that would warrant champagne. It's so weird how when you agree with them, they like you. It's so strange.
Being jerks about it. Okay, you could claim it's a trap. You can claim I'm a sucker and naive, etc. And you could watch those and go, oh yeah, all right, and then take it in any direction you like. But they've been very nice. They've been cordial. They want to have the conversation, and so I'm gonna say it. They've been open-minded. If you don't believe.
They aren't open-minded, Jank. They're just telling you what you want to hear. They're love bombing you. You're falling for the same goddamn tricks you've been criticizing for like the last 2 decades.
Believe me, that's okay. If you think it's a trick, that's okay. But I'm telling you what I actually saw with my own eyes and heard with my own ears.
And this is my last question. Like, what do you think did that? Because there was a time when, even as someone on the right, I could admit it was the right that was really pro-censorship. There are still elements of the right that are pro-censorship, but that you were very comfortable suppressing different viewpoints and would shut others out of conversation. So that may have been always a small amount of the right. The American people are complicated and most people aren't, hardened ideologues. But it is true the right is now very open to having a lot of these conversations.
When we're talking about individuals at the ground level, yes, but the chasm that exists between individuals at the ground level and people whose entire career is predicated.
I'm sorry, but he is traitorous ******** an egotistical sellout, and he warrants such despisement.
Sure, I understand being upset. I've been talking about this segment for a very long time. Champagne's expensive. Anyway, thank you for the $5 donut. I lost my train of thought. Oh, there's a chasm that exists between, your average MAGA voter and your MAGA influencer. MAGA influencers are not average voters. Most of them are paid by billionaires. Most of them are downstream somewhere by billionaires. Point in fact, the show that Jenk is on right now was created for UnHerd, a website founded by a billionaire. So, I don't know. I'm just pointing out here that, equating right-wing, podcasts with, the actual positions of the working, conservative is disingenuous, to say the least.
Even shifting on policy What do you think happened, Cenk? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint when that
I will just
transition
get a
happened, but
carbonation machine and
so
white
look,
wine.
There you go.
in the old days, the Republicans were unbearable to a man, right? All establishment Republicans, all cancel culture 24/7. When they worked in cahoots with
That's
this
still what they do. What are you talking about?
establishment Democrats, or when they were against Democrats on the left overall, right?
Also, chat, just real quick. We have right now 250-ish people watching on YouTube and 97 likes. I think you guys can get up to 150 likes. I believe in you guys. Like the goddamn stream, you freeloaders.
So I think that part of what happened with MAGA was that they got canceled so many times that they started absolutely despising the idea of canceling anything, including conversations. So it became part of their ethos and their culture to be more open to different ideas. And some of those ideas I don't agree with, but at least they're open. And I think that that is generally a good thing. And I get the concern on the left. Yeah, but they're open to things that aren't true, like, oh my God, vaccines cause autism, etc. I know, guys, but
They're bringing back fucking polio, Cenk. What are you talking about?
the establishment / left, and it's complicated because it's different portions of those groups.
I hear you. I hear you. They may bring back polio, and they may leave us incredibly vulnerable to avian bird flu, person-to-person transmission, something that is, on the horizon here. But, we may be able to trick Elon Musk via a complicated Rube Goldbergian machine into tripping and accidentally passing some kind of budget cut for something that's not Social Security. All right, bro, come on. If we have a strategically placed banana peel, we may be able to cause Donald Trump to slip and sign an executive order that, ends student debt.
But what they did for a long time was, we're not platforming, we're not allowing the conversation because we think it's a dangerous conversation. So we're going to force you to shut up. And that's what the right started rebelling against. Now, does the right have their own cancel culture still to this day? Absolutely. I mean, Trump talks about arresting people who protest him, or arresting people that didn't riot, but are just protesting. So that's like, hey, January 6th, you got to arrest the people who broke into the building. But there were more people who listened to his speech and never broke into the building. Why would we arrest them? That doesn't make any sense. But Trump is saying that, and a lot of his allies are saying that about left-wing protesters. Oh my God, if you protest Israel, you're getting arrested on a college campus.
Wait, who's being arrested for January 6th that didn't break into the Capitol building or assault a police officer or bring a gun or plant bombs? Who's being arrested? Is it the people who coordinated the assault on the Capitol? Because they were, in charge of far-right militia groups that are considered terrorists in other countries.
Right? And then Trump even said, maybe we deport the people who dared to protest against Israel. So there's definitely still cancel culture left in the right wing. But overall...
I'm sorry, I don't know, being canceled and being arrested for trying to overthrow the U.S. government are two very different things.
Well, they were rebelling against that idea, certainly coming from the left and the establishment. Now, why did the left get more close to it? I don't know. I don't know how we got some portions of the max left who thought, no, you're not allowed to have a different opinion than me. But yeah, a lot of them do think that. Not all of them, by the way. There's a bunch of max left hosts, meaning on policy issues.
He's kept using this term, the max left. I want him to define that. I want someone to be like, what the hell is that? What are you talking about? You absolute clown.
A TYT, and I debate them all the time, and they never say, Cenk, you must have my opinion. They just say, this is my opinion, right? But there are a lot of max left folks who think, no, if you have that opinion, especially if you have a large show like we do, you shouldn't be allowed to have it. because you're hurting. This is their latest excuse.
Oh, okay. So you're building the bridge for TYT and Jimmy Dore. You're gonna repair that bridge. You know, you're gonna repair that bridge with Dave Rubin, right? Yeah. After all, he's a classical liberal still, I believe. You know, is he not part of the left anymore? Like, I feel like this level of disingenuousness is on par with how Dave Rubin operates as a classical liberal.
You're hurting vulnerable communities.
Yes.
Yeah, but wait, who made you the king of the vulnerable communities?
Exactly.
Why do you get to decide what's right and wrong for the vulnerable communities? Because I don't agree with you on that analysis. So I don't agree with you when you talk about, oh, the vulnerable communities want misdemeanors, felonies turned into misdemeanors, so there's more criminals on the streets.
What are you talking about? Like, notice how like he suddenly gets so vague when he's talking about his examples. Vulnerable communities want felonies turned into misdemeanors. Be specific, motherfucker. What do you mean? Who's advocating for that and why? Maybe if you actually named a specific, it would really reveal how full of shit your point is. I just find that very curious.
It turns out that's not what they wanted at all. Oakland recalled their mayor because of that 65-35. Those are black and brown communities going.
Okay, let's take a look. Oakland mayor recall. Because I have no idea what he's talking about right now.
Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Motherfucker.
Let's just take a look at this, because apparently there's an entire page of it for the city of Oakland. November 5th election included a ballot question to Oakland voters asking whether Mayor Sheng Thao should be recalled. This page provided by the city administrator's office to provide responses to common questions regarding the ballot question and next steps. The page was last updated November 14th, 2024. Has Mayor Thao been recalled? Local news outlets started reporting on Friday, November 8th, that the recall was successful, and Mayor Thao released a statement in which she said, "I am deeply proud of the progress we created, and I am committed to ensuring we stay on track by supporting a smooth transition. Please note, however, that the Alameda County Registrar of Voters is the agency responsible for counting the votes and certifying and publishing the final results of the November 5th, 2024 election. As the ROV
Asterisk,
public debate..."
asterisk, asterisk, the censors.
Yeah. Cool, though. Publishing the final results of the November 5th, 2024 election as the ROV's public update on November 20th. That counting is not yet complete. Okay. City expects to receive the ROV's certification of the election results by December 5th. Okay. If the recall of the mayor is approved by voters, when would she be expected to leave office? Okay. And you know what? Let's look at it a little bit more. Okay, looks like it did get verified. What is this? Let's see. Sheng Thao, the mayor, and Pamela Price, the district attorney for Alameda County, were both the target of recall campaigns. Launched amid discontent over the city's challenges, a spiraling housing crisis, rising costs, and the departure of the city's last remaining major league sports team. But the recall campaigns particularly centered on residents' enduring frustrations about the area's crime rates. Like many cities in the U.S., Oakland experienced a surge in violent crime during the pandemic, one that took longer than elsewhere to subside. Statistics had shown both violent and nonviolent crime finally trending down before the election. Before the election, the Oakland police announced a 30% drop in homicides this year compared to 2023. Non-fatal shootings were down 20%, robberies were down 24%. Still, many residents remained deeply frustrated. The overwhelming support for both recalls came amid a broader sentiment in the state that crime had become out of control. Californians also supported a tough-on-crime measure, Prop 36, to enact harsher penalties for retail theft, property crimes, and drug offenses, and undo some of the landmark criminal justice reforms from a decade ago. They also voted down Prop 6, a measure to ban forced prison labor. Okay. Oh, well, this is an interesting component in the reporting here. So they also voted down Prop 6, a measure to ban forced prison labor. Foundational Oakland Unites, a committee set up to fund signature gathering before the mayoral recall, sent residents a common sense voter guide that encouraged a yes on 36 and a no on 6. While the campaigns tapped into deep frustrations among residents, they were funded in large part by a handful of the region's wealthy elites. Or residents, sorry. Over the summer, the local news site, the Oakland Side, revealed that Philip Dreyfus, a hedge fund manager who lives in the wealthy enclave of Piedmont, had been the biggest funder to the effort to recall the mayor. Ron Conway, a billionaire tech investor, was another major funder. Now, just out of curiosity, Philip Dreyfus is... Ooh, exactly. Net worth. Estimated net worth of $14.6 million. Huh, that's interesting. Okay. And I'm curious here. Philip Dreyfus hedge fund size. Sorry. A hedge fund manager is funding bid to oust Oakland's mayor, and it's not his first recall. Huh, interesting. Philip Dreyfus, a partner at San Francisco's Farallon Capital Management, has given more than $480,000 to the recall campaign through a committee called Foundational Oakland Unites, according to a disclosure the committee filed Wednesday. That represents over 80% of the total fundraising by the Oakland United to recall Sheng Thao campaign. According to city planning documents from 2019, Dreyfus lives with his wife in a home in Piedmont, but this week's committee filing lists his address as Oakland. He's not responded to requests for comment. Interesting stuff. Let's see here. Interesting stuff here. I feel like maybe some circumspection should be expected from a guy whose entire career has been setting up a journalistic network at the Young Turks to maybe look a little bit more into this story that he's citing in these right-wing news appearances. Interesting addition here. Foundational Oakland Unites reported taking in over $605,000 between January 1st and June 30th, all of it from Dreyfus. Wednesday's filing shows most of that money went to the recall campaign, and nearly $125,000 was given to an effort to get rid of ranked choice voting in Oakland. Interesting. The recall funding included $130,000 in direct contributions, about $337,500 in non-monetary contributions, and $13,000 in loans, according to the committee filing. The non-monetary contributions involved paying $335,000 to the Newport Beach company that gathered signatures to get the recall effort on November's ballot. The idea that this is fucking born... the idea that this was born out of the genuine frustration of Oakland residents is absurd. When you have a multi-millionaire dropping $500,000 to even raise the issue in the first place. I you have this guy who's like a San Francisco hedge fund manager coming to Oakland, California to do this. And you also have a billionaire coming into Oakland to do this. Like, this is not of the people, by the people, or for the people. This is being done by capital. And I'm not gonna lie here, guys. This part of the story raises some deep alarm bells. This particular part at the very end, it's at the very tail end here of this reporting. The campaigns in Oakland and Alameda County follow a string of similar efforts to recall elected officials across California, funded in large part by deep-pocketed donors like Dreyfus. In 2022, he was also a major donor to the successful campaign to recall San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin. Now, if you guys don't remember that, I can forgive you, right? Because, you know, that was a few years ago now, right? Foxbat. That's exactly who it is. This is straight up the fascist element of Silicon Valley, San Francisco, you know, elite, you know, the tech bros. I did a deep dive into this, like maybe 4 to 5 months ago, maybe even 6 months ago. The gray shirt movement. And if you haven't heard of this, it is basically the brainchild of this guy named Balaji Srinivasan. Srinivasan. I always put an R at the end for some reason. Now this guy, he's not a billionaire, but he is an incredibly wealthy man. Just, can I get a rough idea? Yeah, his net worth is over $150 million. Okay? And one of the things that this guy does in his spare time is he basically goes on far-right tech bro podcasts to talk about cryptocurrency and also how, you know, Silicon Valley tech entrepreneurs can basically create their own mini fiefdoms. He wrote an essay, or a manifesto perhaps would be more accurate, talking about how these kind of wannabe company town managers, or, you know, wannabe techno feudalists, how they can run their companies. And it's called the essay itself, let me pull it up here, is called The Network State. It is basically a blueprint of how these people want to rule. It is his idea of how these Silicon Valley billionaires, 100 millionaires can kind of stake their claim across the face of the earth. And he basically lays out 2 different routes for the entrepreneurial elite to take. And the number one, the number one is you could find like an unclaimed territory and, you know, stake that out and build something there. You know, basically you could found your own country, or full on overthrow a country and basically create a company country, you know, instead of a company town or a company state, a company country. Very much in the same vein, by the way.
San Fran just filled with gay fascists.
Oh, no. Well, maybe. But we're talking about the gray fascists. He calls them the gray shirts. And basically, a lot of these ideas are an echo of the Belgian Congo, the state founded by King Leopold II in Africa, where King Leopold basically went on to wield supreme power, and he was able to wield the power of life and death over everyone who lived there in order to exploit them economically. And basically, this Balaji's plan here in the network state is very similar to that, except relying instead of relying on like slave masters and taskmasters and like, you know, company men, you instead rely on surveillance, right? And the other way, and this is why it's really important to understand why San Francisco and why these different enclaves in California have been targeted by these, you know, millionaires and billionaires.
Yeah, but Peter Thiel associate himself with them.
Yeah, but that's like one gay guy. That's one openly gay guy. Let's not blow it out of proportion. One openly gay guy does not filled with gay fascist make. That being said, the other way that Balaji puts forward is to find a small city or town that you can then essentially destabilize and take control of it. You can basically purchase the rights to, either through formalized means or informal bribery, to basically treat a town or city as your little fiefdom. And this is kind of like the goal, right? This is why they target cities like San Francisco. They want to own San Francisco. If you look at a lot of what the tech billionaires want to do in San Francisco, it's basically they want to make it into like a kind of Disneyland for the rich and powerful, to basically do whatever free market capitalism they want while workers toil away and die underneath them. In a similar way, they're looking to destabilize other portions, other pockets, other cities in different areas of America. And so what's really interesting here about the story out of Oakland is that it is directly being like this recall is being directly copied and pasted from San Francisco by the same people. San Francisco to them was a proof of concept, and now they are expanding it in order to try and get their people in charge. So what I find fascinating about this is that this rabbit hole is very deep and quite interesting. And if you guys want to know more, I have the videos going over Balaji's ideas in more depth on my YouTube channel. But the interesting thing...
They want San Tran to be the capital from the Hunger Games.
I mean, kind of. I don't like the Hunger Games, so I'm not completely on board with that analogy, but kind of. I think it's not a direct one-to-one, but I'm not going to quibble about that. So I find it very interesting that Jank just seems completely oblivious to this and just assumes it's like a popular movement and not one that was overwhelmingly funded by billionaires and 100 millionaires. You know, like, this is not the will of the people. And he runs a goddamn a journalistic outlet.
I don't know what knuckleheads thought we were pro-crime, but that crime hits.
Also, like, the very fact that I can, like, Google this and in 5 seconds find out that in the year that they got recalled, crime was down, like, violent crime was down by, like, 20 to 30%. And the main driver of this recall effort was billionaire money. Like, come on, man.
Us. And we are not in favor of it at all. In fact, gone. 2/3 of Oakland going, we're not interested in that. Okay. So look, I know people hate it when I say it, but I was right. And black and brown communities don't want you to be the king of the left and have these max positions that they don't agree with. But on top of that, there's this hilarious thing about Cenk,
Okay, I'll pay to ask. How do you think, or do you think, the Tech Brothers taking over is related to the housing crisis in SF?
Oh, it's directly related. Like, directly. Like, tech bros have ruined the housing market within San Francisco. Like, the reason San Francisco as a housing market is so bad is because of tech bros, is because of these tech billionaires going to this city, buying up the housing and like gentrifying different areas to the stratosphere. You know, it's completely unaffordable for like basically anyone to live there who's not a member of their upper class society. You know, like all the actual people who work and provide services there have to commute into San Francisco in order to actually, like, for the city to actually function. It's terrifying what they want to do up there. Yeah, I don't remember the specifics, but there was like some kind of insane plan to like create like a walled off like skyscraper community. Just some wacky ideas being tossed around in San Francisco by these completely out of touch rich assholes, you know? If you look into it, it is very interesting and very messed up.
I appreciate that you're allowing me to say whatever I want, but I am not allowing you to say what you want.
But shut the fuck up.
Yeah, but like the issue is it's fine to say what you want, but you should be right when you say it. You should be correct. Like if a show is just two people saying whatever they want with no regard for what is true or what is real, then like you may as well watch two AI chatbots like just bounce off of each other. Like, we're looking for an actual human conversation that is constructive, and that involves like holding one another to some measure of reality.
Yeah, good. Yeah, but good luck with that, man. Look, the establishment has been trying to shut me up for the whole 25 years I've been around. The right wing's trying to shut me up. Now some portions of the max left are trying to shut me up. I don't know.
I don't want to shut Cenk up. I just want him to be right. I just want him to be correct. I want him to have better political positions. That's all I want from everyone who is wrong. You know, I want them to be better, or I want them to present me with a compelling case for why I should change my mind. But instead, he's just like, "Oh, why are you complaining?" It's like, well, maybe you should be right and or get better arguments.
When you guys are going to get the memo. It ain't going to work, okay? And this whole idea that, no, we have to be authoritarian and our idea is the correct idea. No one else is
What is max left? It's a term he like made up like 2 weeks ago.
allowed to disagree. Even 2% disagreement means banishment, heresy. You're MAGA now. You're this and that. Yeah, that's a terrible idea. Terrible. And I will fight against that with all my vigor. And so, you know, I wish they wouldn't go in that direction. But some do. Remember, not even all the max left think that at all. Nobody's getting canceled at TY.
I feel like I feel like his brain has been totally poisoned by something or someone. Like it's honestly sad to see at this point. I feel like I've said about as much about Cenk as I need to at this point. So I'm glad this segment is almost over.
IT. That's just not going to happen.
Well, that's great news. Cenk, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, Emily. I appreciate the conversation. And look, come watch the Young Turks 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
I love that he brought up one specific about like the left going too far, and I spent exactly like 2 minutes looking into it, and it turned out to be like a billionaire op. Like you really can't make this stuff up.
Every day, find out for yourself. Don't let people take 12-second clips and trick you into thinking that we're whatever they're pretending we are. Okay, come watch 6 p.m. Eastern every day, Monday through Friday. And my public service announcement. We're for open hearts and open minds. Please, guys, keep an open mind. Hear people out, then make your conclusion.
Open hearts, open minds. Cenk, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Really.
Cenk, that's so great. That's so great. He's gonna walk away from this conversation being like, "That was really productive. We did it. We, it like, oh man, she was really nice, but when she agreed with me the entire time, like, come on, man."
Appreciate it.
Okay, so I think maybe what I just heard Cenk say is that it's even in the left's best interest if the college campuses get back to normal and we stop teaching stupid ideas like you're necessarily violent and bigoted if you disagree with me. I don't know. Maybe that could be helpful.
What are you talking about? What a weird way to end your show. What a weird way to end this interview. What are you doing? What? Be specific. What are you talking about, lady? What college campus is saying, like, you are necessarily violent and bigoted if you disagree with me? It's so weird. They get so loosey-goosey about some of their points when it
2% of a disagreeing on the left,
Oh,
to me
God.
at least, is disagreeing about people having the right to their own personal transportation. His 2% is him wanting to drop trans people's rights.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that initial 2%, but like, yeah, I feel like a 2% disagreement is like, I don't know, I like pineapple on pizza, like that's like a 2% disagreement for me because I hate pineapple on pizza. But like, I want her to elaborate on which college universities are telling and teaching students to hate her and attack her on site. Where's that happening? Like, I do dislike you intensely. I don't know her well enough to hate her, but like, I would never like just attack her on site. That's insane. What are you talking about?
Well, for everyone, just an idea. It was awesome to have Cenk here. He's been doing such interesting stuff lately. He's always been really interesting, but lately, as things here in DC are happening, things down in West Palm Beach are happening, and things are happening in the media up in Midtown Manhattan and in their studios here on Capitol Hill. It's really, really, really good to have that conversation. Really important to have that conversation. So I was very excited to have Cenk on the show. Thank you to everybody for watching. If you subscribe.
All right, we finished. Have you guys seen Jose's video going over the Aurora thing overall? I have not, because I made like 2 very substantial videos on my own channel going over the Aurora thing before Jose came out with his Aurora video. So go watch my Aurora, Colorado apartment complex debunk videos, and then go watch Jose's, because I'm sure his is very good, because Jose makes really good content, and I'm not salty at all. I'm just a little jealous. We did it! We did it, everyone! We finished the segment! We did it! Huzzah!